news. Tickets for the Conference on Religious Trauma, Court 2023, are now available. Also, if you're interested in an ad-free version of the Divorcing Religion podcast, come join me over on Patreon. Links for both are in the show notes. Thanks. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Divorcing Religion podcast. I'm your host, Janice Selby. I'm a registered professional counselor and a religious recovery consultant. And I do have a content warning for you today. We will be discussing childhood sexual assault. My guest today is advocate, podcaster, and newly published author, Mary Byler. Mary grew up Amish and since leaving has focused attention on the child sexual abuse that plagues many closed religious communities, including the Amish ones. And Mary's new book is called Reflections and Memories of an Amish Misfit. Welcome, Mary. I'm glad to see you again.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for having me. It means a lot to be able to come and speak on your platform.
Thank you. Well, I feel like your message is quite an important one. And I had the opportunity to be a guest on your podcast several months ago. And I was really impressed with the voice that you are lending to that community. And I know you've also been doing research and you've been busy writing your book. I'd love to hear anything today that you feel is important. And I wondered if you would start us off by telling us a little bit about your background. Most of us really don't know what it's like to grow up in a closed community. And of course, the Amish are very romanticized in America. Oh, I think you're on mute.
Oh, you're absolutely not lying when you say Amish are very romanticized. I personally was born into an Abe Troyer Amish church, which is very conservative. It's one of the most conservative branches of Amish churches that there are. And then when my father had passed away, he was killed in a car buggy accident. When I was 5, we moved to an old order Amish community, and then we lived there for several years, and then we moved to another community. And my egg donor was a widow for 7 years, and so she got remarried to a widower from another state. And when she got remarried, we moved to another old order Amish community.
Wow!
And then we finally, after 2 years of living in that last old order Amish community, we moved to another old order Amish community, and that's the community that I escaped from. And let me say this: the reason that I use the term escaped versus like leaving, you don't just leave, you escape. You escape, and I actually wrote about escaping in my book, so I don't feel like I have the energy to relive that moment, but just know that it's in there.
Wow. Thank you. Yes, that I think that book is going to be on my list of must reads because I want to hear about your story and learn about what it was like for you. Even hearing you use the phrase egg donor, I mean, that tells me right there that there's just a lot of pain there.
My egg donor was convicted of failure to aid a victim and report a crime.
Wow. Okay. And then you were yanked hither and yon, really, when you were growing up to all these different communities. Did you have siblings as well?
Yes, actually. So I have 9 stepbrothers. I had 9 stepbrothers. One of them passed away. I have 5 stepsisters, as far as I know. And I have 8 brothers, and I have a half sister, and one of my brothers also passed away.
Wow, that's a very large amount of siblings.
23 of us.
Siblings, oh my goodness. To your knowledge, have any of them been able to escape?
Yes. But that is their story.
Right. Yes, exactly. Wow. What an interesting life you've lived. Can you tell us what age you were when you were able to escape?
I was 19 years old.
Mm-hmm. hmm Did you have an understanding of what it would be like not to be living in that community anymore?
Nope.
Oh
I
my
didn't even
gosh.
know that I could have a bank account as a vagina haver. I didn't know I could have a bank account because vagina havers couldn't have bank accounts without men. Like the men had the bank accounts. Like that wasn't a thing for us. Plus, like I wasn't considered of a legal age yet because I wasn't 21.
Oh wow. Wow. So I mean you've managed to escape and you're out in this world that doesn't resemble your former living experiences at all, but you have got to be able to at least find food and shelter. Did you know how to use the internet?
My friend taught me how to use the internet because I got very lucky because I had an escaped Mennonite person that
Yeah.
helped me navigate that. I personally didn't exist. Like I didn't have a birth certificate. I didn't have a social security card. I didn't have a driver's license. I didn't have a resume. I didn't have a high school diploma. I didn't have anything. I
Wow.
did not exist. I didn't even have clothes that were acceptable or appropriate to wear.
Amazing. That is, oh, I'm so glad that you had a friend, just one friend even who could
Sometimes
help you. That's fantastic.
navigate this whole new world. It's a whole new world. It's like a whole new country.
Having that one friend on the outside can make all the difference. I know in my own practice working with religious trauma recovery clients, if we don't have some sort of help and we leave a very closed community, it can be hard not to go back for some people if they don't have a way to survive, if they don't know of a way to survive.
Well, not even just the not knowing of a way to survive, but also the fact that people that escape from these insular religious communities or just religious communities in general, when they escape, they tend to be drawn to another one because it feels comfortable and familiar to them. And it feels comfortable and familiar to them because they've been conditioned that this is the way that it should be. They don't have the ability to have any form of bodily autonomy or make decisions for themselves. I didn't have that until like I learned like that really is a thing, is people have to be given the space to be able to learn that they are able to make decisions. That's number one. It's part of the reason why when people often write me and they ask me, well, what do you think about this? What if I did this? And it's like, it doesn't matter what I think about it. What matters is that you are in this situation and you are the one that know this situation inside and out. You're the only one that knows this situation inside and out. I can give you my opinion, but my opinion doesn't matter. What is your opinion? Why do you want to do this? What are the risks of doing this?
Wow.
Are you allowed to make decisions for yourself?
Wow. So powerful.
That is what we need to do. We need to empower people. That when you empower people, they find their way. And it doesn't have to look the same as mine or Janice's or Joe Schmuck down the road. Doesn't have to look the same. We are all unique human beings.
Yes. Yeah, I love it. And so my background isn't the same as yours. And yet to me, it took time for me to understand about my own autonomy and about consent in particular.
Okay. Going from a place where I was told, because I also write about this in my book, I was supposed to get married. Okay. And I was told that when you get married, you have to do everything your husband says inside and outside of the bedroom. So going from that to learning that I'm allowed to say no is like, that's a journey. That's a journey. It is a journey.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Even just thinking about that is mind blowing because it's such a you walked from one world into a completely different world. And I would say even in the more free world, apart from religion, there are a lot of young people who grow up and still don't understand about autonomy and consent. If they grew up in a very authoritarian home, maybe their parent was in the military or just a narcissistic parenting dynamic going on, it takes a lot for us to really begin to embody that, to take up residence within ourselves and start getting comfortable making our own decisions and getting comfortable saying no and using our voice and telling people, I don't want this. This is not okay. I want you to stop this behavior that's going on right now because I'm uncomfortable with it. It feels like women in general we're constantly pushing against this because we've been told by society, we've been conditioned to always be polite and always acquiesce to males. Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. So when I speak about topics that I'm really familiar and comfortable with, I tend to get really passionate about it. Mm-hmm. And I may not even realize that I'm being really passionate. And it's not I may not, I don't realize it. It's me. Okay? Mm-hmm. But people often mistake that as anger. And they label me as angry, even though I'm not even angry. I'm just passionate about this topic. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's a result of society's conditioning that all anger is bad. And the thing is that I'm here to tell you that my anger has fueled all of my work. My anger has fueled everything that I do. So anger can be a tool that you use to benefit future generations of human beings.
Yes. Yes.
Anger is a normal human emotion. Mm-hmm. People experience anger at injustice. They experience anger at horror, at torture, at the fact that there's a child abuse epidemic in the world that continues happening inside of communities of all groups of people. And it's 2023 and we still haven't done anything meaningful to completely eradicate the child abuse that is happening.
Mm-hmm. Boy, do I hear you. And I feel angry thinking how religion just gets a pass. Religious communities get a pass. Nobody wants to investigate or explore too closely. You're not even supposed to speak out. I know this for sure, against religion. And that's part of what my career is based on, is talking about the harms of religion and the advocacy work that you do as well. So let's really get into it and talk about some of this. So you particularly have focused on the childhood sexual abuse that is taking place essentially behind closed doors. It's happening in these communities. And I mean, we're talking, there are little children, but even young people up into their late teens who this is happening to, and they don't have a voice, or they're not allowed to speak out about it.
Or they don't even have the language to be able to access resources, or they don't even know, they don't have words for it. Part of the reason that I do this is because there were at least three instances, not people, 3 events in my life where people outside of the community knew or suspected that I was experiencing child sexual abuse. The first one is before my father was unalived. I was 5 when he was killed.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
We didn't know what to do, they said. We didn't know what to do. The next one would have been inside of an actual medical doctor's office. And they did an interview that they do. It's the screening for child sexual abuse because I had the symptoms. Mm-hmm. And they brought in my egg donor to translate for me, and she lied to them.
Oh, wow.
The
Wow.
third one is in a whole other state where the English neighbors literally came over to ask for something, and they saw me in extreme distress, and they did nothing. And then after I reported the abuse, had the audacity to invite me to their house just for dinner. And I was like, oh, well, maybe they were like, well, we're supportive of you. Okay. So I go to their house for dinner, and they proceed to tell me that they had to maintain their business relationships with Amish people.
Oh. Oh, my God. Despicable.
This is a pattern of behavior from outsiders looking on who suspect and refuse to do anything. They brush it off with Amish take care of themselves. I speak about Amish because I was born Amish. I speak about Amish because let me also tell you this. For over almost 400 years, Amish people have been intermarrying their second and third cousins, which has resulted in actual genetic diseases and disorders that are specific to Amish. Furthermore, we have a higher rate and incidence of certain other genetic defects. And when I was pregnant, I had to go for genetics counseling because there were abnormalities. Just the fact that I was born Amish gave me a much higher risk of having a child with a genetic defect. I can never get rid of that. They call it, the gentle term for it is the founder effect.
Well, that's really, I think a lot of our listeners today won't have been familiar with that. So thank you for sharing that.
So there's that. So I don't say that I'm an ex-Amish because I can't get rid of that. You can't extract that from me.
Right. Yeah. So how do you refer to yourself then if you don't say ex-Amish?
Typically I say I'm a non-compliant Amish, or I don't go to church.
Yes. Yeah. Non-compliant Amish. Yes. I have heard that from one of my previous guests as well. Wow. Okay. So there were instances not only of you being horrendously abused in childhood sexually, but instances where people knew what was going on and they did nothing. And in fact, in your egg donor's case, it was more than she did nothing. She actively lied and tried to hide the abuse.
Yeah. And, then you have the people who tell me that, well, she did the best she could. I know that she experienced domestic violence. I know that. I witnessed it. But in the same token, when you have a community, when you have groups of people who get together and they cover up child sexual abuse, where do you draw the line? And at what cost?
Yeah, excellent point. So you have lived in many different old order communities. Would you say it's something that happens in most communities? Are you able to speak to that? I mean, you obviously haven't been to most of them, but you have lived on quite a few in your lifetime.
I would say this: people are people. People are people. And wherever you get groups of people, you get people that commit crimes. Stop pretending that the Amish are these peaceful, gentle people that commit no crimes. Humanize them so you can see the crimes they commit. Until you humanize them so you can see the crimes they commit, you won't see it.
Yes. That's very true. And I think people are so hesitant to do that because, as we said, they love to idealize and romanticize. Oh, they're living such a more peaceful or gentle life. But you are 100% correct. Human communities have this problem. And I would say, especially religious patriarchal communities based on the Bible, where obedience is also demanded of adherents, particularly women and children.
Not just obedience and submission. And, as vagina havers inside of those communities, you are given your voice by the patriarchal authorities in charge of you.
Mm-hmm.
It's especially prevalent there, which, when you think about it, I co-wrote a research study last year with Dr. Tara Mitchell. She's a professor at Lock Haven University in PA, and we were approved in December 2021 to collect data. So
Wow.
we started collecting data approved by the Institutional Review Board at Lock Haven, by the way. And in January 2022, we started collecting data, and in May, we stopped collecting data, and then we spent the rest of last year analyzing the data. So one of the things that really stuck out to me is the differences because in the language that is used to describe child sexual abuse. And the reason that I bring this up is because I don't think that this is just necessarily Amish specific, because we had a wide variety of people that responded to this survey. There were primarily Anabaptists of some type, but there were a wide variety of Anabaptists. And it included Amish responses. It also included other insular religious groups' responses. And so it's important for us to understand, as we are trying to raise awareness, like, how do religious communities talk about child sexual abuse versus like how the secular or the medical world talks about child sexual abuse. So what we did is we asked, if you were taught child sexual abuse is a sin, what was it called?
What a good question.
And there were a few people that said they were taught it was sexual abuse, sexually abused, child sexual abuse, incest, rape, molestation, molesting children, sexual molesting, statutory rape. Other people, however, gave even more information. They were taught varying other terms that can and may be used to describe sexual assault, but they are not inherently indicative of the severity, and they may lack specificity when attempting to communicate with appropriate authorities in order to report, seek support, access resources, anything. If you had somebody coming to you and telling you, like, it's wrong, what he's doing is wrong, would you think child sexual abuse?
Right.
Or let me just go through the list of terms.
Mm-hmm.
Child abuse in general is not child sexual abuse. Those are two different things. Sex act, fornication, lust, defrauding, temptation, tempting a child, a sin, improper behavior, immorality, immoral behavior, sexual immorality, pervert, sodomy, dirty, sins of the flesh, illegal, inappropriate touching, inappropriate behavior, mortal sin, evil, demonic, devil's work, porneia, misconduct, wickedness, bad touch, ungecht, generic abuse, bad stuff, improper behavior, bad moral failure, and stumbling. Touched, awful, pedophilia. Now, you may ask, why did we include pedophilia in this? Because people fail to often recognize that pedophilia in and of itself is not indicative of somebody committing a crime. Pedophilia is described as somebody experiencing attraction to a child.
Mm-hmm.
Child sexual abuse is when the act of harming a child has actually happened in the form of sexual abuse.
Mm-hmm.
It is a
Important.
medical diagnosis, and it describes sexual attraction to a child. And it does not say that child sexual assault has transpired. It does not say that a child has been raped. And people who rape children may do so for power and control, which is unrelated to pedophilia.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, excellent point and distinction to make. Thank you so much for saying that. Yes.
And then there were phrases that were given, like there wasn't really a name for it, just bad touch, or he was bothering me, or being dirty with someone, or hurting a child, or using another, or an invocation of the devil, doing shameful things, being naughty, a sin of darkness, wrongful touching by someone else, things done in secret, doing things they shouldn't do to children, not being appropriate. It's a struggle with lust of the eyes, dirty acts, or even further. Somebody gave a really in-depth answer that said it was called anything, but was something bad that people got in trouble for. It wasn't clear who would get in trouble.
Right.
Or another person said it was called a sin, often stated as being evil and associated with the devil's work. In that sense, it was also insinuated that anyone outside of our religion was at more of a risk for such things. I don't know. It was named exactly as such, but it was thought to be evil. Sometimes the female involved was evil, demonic, that she, even as a child victim, was at fault and had been sent by the devil to attack religious leaders.
Wow.
So, how do children in that environment have access to anybody that could help them?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what would you say to the people who know or suspect and do nothing?
That is just, it's hard for me even to fathom.
I just, because I can't comprehend or grasp that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like, yes, some children may be being taught that child sexual abuse is a sin, and they may be being taught, some of them, but the vast majority of them are being taught these vague and awful things that really do not actually address the issue, nor do they actually provide the language for the children to be able to seek support or resources or interventions that could lead to safety for the child.
Right. And at the same time, they're being physically, corporally disciplined and punished for a lack of obedience and, a lack of subservience to the grown-ups in their midst, who are also the abusers. And sometimes it's not always the grown-up, it may be older siblings.
This is true. And I believe that it is the responsibility of adults in communities to take actions to help children get to safety and be safe in their environments, because children don't have the capacity or development, and it is not their responsibility.
Right. You're 100% right. They don't have the ability to get to safety, and it's not their responsibility to keep themselves safe from predatory adults.
Right. That is the responsibility of parents and adults in the communities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'd say people need to step up.
Boy, that's the truth. That's putting it mildly. So then you were involved in this research paper. Were there things that you found as far as percentages or anything? What do you think that we should know, in addition to the significance of language, how important it is to call things what they are, call behaviors what they are?
So we had 335 people that were raised Anabaptist, and I believe it's 380 something total responses. Out of those 335 that were raised Anabaptist, 177 of those people are currently attending Anabaptist churches.
Wow.
That is the first thing I want you to know. There were a wide variety of Anabaptist churches represented.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it included Amish and Mennonites of various denominations and other Anabaptists that I'm not sure that they fall under Amish or Mennonite umbrella.
Okay.
But they are, in fact, Anabaptists, because there's also Brethren, there's also Hutterites that fall under Anabaptists too.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think we had any Hutterites that responded.
Okay.
Regardless, the Anabaptists that responded, out of those 335, the percentages that of the people, we gave them a definition from the National Child Traumatic Network, I believe, of child sexual abuse. And we asked them, based on that description, have you experienced child sexual abuse? The options that they had were yes, no, or unsure. Out of the Anabaptists that responded, 47% of them indicated that they hadn't experienced child sexual abuse.
Oh, dear.
And I believe 43% of them indicated they did not experience child sexual abuse. And the rest said they were unsure, which also begs the question, how does the lack of access to information affect people in knowing when they've experienced child sexual abuse or not?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I want to say about that is, like, it's not a written in stone number, but it is a number that says about 1 in 2 of the Anabaptists that responded to this reported experiencing child sexual abuse. We can't say that that is true in every community, but what we can say is this is what the people who responded said.
Wow. 1 in 2.
Yep.
That's hard to hear. That's hard to take in, because that represents so much incredible pain and distress.
Yes, it does. And the other thing is it could also be that people who experience child sexual abuse maybe responded at a higher rate because they're more interested in child sexual abuse and having research and having data and having numbers.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. Yes. Mm. Wow. So then you participated in the research project, but even prior to that, I think you were already doing advocacy work in your own way. And I'm thinking of your podcast. But I know, yes, tell me some of the other work that you're doing or that you're involved in. And we will be including links in the show notes to some of these things that you're going to share with us.
Oh, thank you. So I became a life coach, but I also founded an organization in 2020 that's called the Misfit Amish.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
Well, I mean, I don't really believe in a culture of silence being a healthy environment for anybody. So, like, you know, we don't really fit in with the compliant Amish who go to church. So it's a place for people to share stories and their experiences in ways that they feel safe and comfortable. One of the things that I do is, regardless of who or what background you are, is like, if you feel like you want to write about your experiences and you want to share it anonymously under a pen name, the Misfit Amish will publish it for you. We have articles on our blog posts from people who currently go to Amish churches.
Wow.
Because of that. Another thing is that we record podcasts for people because our whole goal and the whole purpose of the Misfit Amish is to bridge cultural gaps. And how can you bridge cultural gaps without telling the stories of the marginalized people within that lived within that culture?
Mm-hmm. Very true. Yeah. What about legislation? Is there anything going on in the realm of legislation to be helping or drawing more awareness, or what's going on with that?
Yes, there actually is. So Missy Griffin, I don't know if your audience will know who she is, but Missy Griffin is an author. She wrote a book called Tears of the Silence. It's on Amazon. And she also was a co-producer on Sins of the Amish, the TV show that I appear in. And after Sins of the Amish came out, she started a petition on change.org. USA Child Rights Act. She is working towards having I don't know if you've ever heard of, I think it's called Megan's Law, but it's basically her goals are to have all teachers be an adult. So like sometimes we may have teachers in Amish parochial schools that are minors. And so she wants all teachers to be required to be at least 18, legally an adult.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is she wants all teachers, regardless of like private school, public school, whatever, has to be at the federal level, at Congress level, because all teachers in every school need to take mandated reporter training.
Very good. Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, not Megan's Law, Aaron's Law.
Okay.
Aaron's Law provides for, I believe, the appropriate teaching to children that is age and gender appropriate, that helps give them language.
Wow. Can you imagine that kind of teaching actually taking place in an Amish school? I mean, that's shocking even to think of. I really hope that this happens.
Well, PA Dutch is my first language. I didn't have a word for vagina in PA Dutch.
Oh, wow.
I told the doctors my stomach hurt.
Oh my gosh. That is the most basic, your own personal physical anatomy, to not have a name for
language.
Wow. Incredible.
Language. And when people
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I was thinking, then it's certainly not only the Amish children who need to be equipped with this language, but physicians and police officers who are going to be potentially interacting with the Amish must understand, okay, if a kid is coming in talking about their stomach hurts, they might actually not know the word for their genitalia and what's going on. So they need to be instructed in these things as well.
Yep. Absolutely. And it also is like one of those things where, like, when you talk about the importance of language and access to information, this is why, because when people have access to better information, they can do better. People can't do better if they don't have access to better information. So what do a lot of these insular communities do? Or what do a lot of religious communities do?
They withhold it. Yeah.
They control.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What is it called? I believe in Steve Hassan's.
The bite model. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Information control.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Behavior, information, thoughts, and emotions. And if the high demand groups or, closed religious groups would certainly fall under that. Yes, this is something that I go over a lot with my religious recovery clients, is the bite model, because it's so important. And then we can start to identify, if we're exploring other ideologies and groups, we want to see how it holds up against the bite model. Are they trying to control our behavior, information, our thoughts, our emotions?
Yep. Because the other thing is that also goes back to what we were talking about earlier, when people mistake passion for anger and all of that, is like, you're not allowed to have emotions without there being a negative connotation to it. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to be that yeah, that submissive, that quiet, that I can even bow my head properly. No, I'm not in the dress. It can't happen. I will tell you, like, for example, I have a dress, an Amish dress, and my Amish dress, when I put it on, now I'm a parent, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And my child says this to me, I hate it. And I said, why do you hate it? It's part of my heritage. This is very similar to what I grew up wearing. And my child's like, because you don't act like you.
Wow.
You don't look like you.
Mm.
You are this like vibrant person. And when you put that dress on, you're not even you.
Wow. Yes. Yes. Oh, powerful.
So periodically, I use the dress to raise awareness because it's important.
Mm-hmm.
And here recently, I actually did an unbaptism ceremony, which was fun.
You did? Oh my gosh, I want to know about that.
Well, I always say, like, people just don't know when to stop. They just don't know when to stop.
That's true.
You know what? If you want to call me all these things. So first off, like one of the things I did with the dress that really, really felt like a reclaiming of myself is I took all the words that they had said about me and I had body painted them on. My friend helped me do it.
Yes.
And then I made a specific, like just, it was just a bralette type top for like the summer out of rainbow colors.
No, I love it.
And I had that on underneath it and some shorts. Okay. And then I put the dress on. And then I made a video of me taking it, what's under the dress? Because people are literally so insensitive. They will ask us, what is under Amish women's dresses?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to show you what's underneath the dress.
Oh my gosh. And then you lift it up and reveal
No.
words.
I took the whole thing off. The whole thing off.
Wow.
And if you watch that video, you will see the body language change.
Oh my God.
You'll see what I'm talking about. That whole body language change.
Wow.
So anyway,
can we link to that video? Are you comfortable if we share that in the show notes?
I'm comfortable with that.
Great. Okay. I'll get that from you after and we'll make sure that goes in because that sounds incredibly powerful. Wow.
And then I kind of did a play on that for my unbaptism ceremony. And really, okay, people just don't know when to stop. Okay. Let's just say. So I have a public platform. And for some reason, people feel entitled to, for example, basically write me and tell me things, right? So this was a message from somebody that really was like, I'm sorry, who you? New phone, who dis? Who dis? I read your book. I just really hope that whatever, you experienced didn't turn you away from the gospel, right? Pretty much. That's the essence of it.
Oh, no.
That's the essence of it. So I wrote it on baptism ritual. I made a ceremony out of it. And I put on my Amish dress and I put on my covering. And then when I took off the covering, I literally threw it across the room. And then I took off the dress and I had on a corset and leather pants. So y'all.
Did you record this? This is so
It's also on TikTok.
Oh, I love it. Oh, way to go.
tell me about myself, because I mean,
in case anyone was wondering.
in case you're wondering, the more you say things, I mean, good luck praying for me, because people have been praying for like over 30 years. I am about to be 39 years old, and I'm telling you, people have been praying for me for a long time. I just somehow feel like their God wants me to be this way, if he even exists. I'm just saying. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I love it. I love it. Your story is incredibly powerful. And you also do have a voice on TikTok, as you mentioned, and you've written this book. We have your podcast. You've been involved in research, and you were talking about Aaron's Law as well. I wonder if sometime we might get you to join us as a speaker at the conference on religious trauma. I think people would be very interested in what you have to say. I'll leave that with you to think about, because I am interested. I love the voice that you have. I love how you're using it. And I'm just so grateful that you were my guest today. Do you want to close with do you have any other thoughts, or is there anything we didn't get to that you wanted to let us know about?
My book is not for the faint of heart.
Okay.
I'm just going to say this, if you're going to read my book, grab your hats and bonnets, hold on to your buggy seats, because you know what? Guess what? If you have any form of romanticized view about Amish people, it is about to be shattered and destroyed in a million little pieces, and you can never unsee what you read in there.
Wow. Yes. And that is Reflections and Memories of an Amish Misfit. I want to run out and get my copy of that book, because it sounds fantastic. I know it's available on Kindle, and I believe there's a paperback copy as well. Is
That's
that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'll include the links in the show notes. And thank you again, Mary Byler. Thank you for joining me on the Divorcing Religion podcast. And thank you just for the work that you do as an advocate for this extremely vulnerable community, our children. Who could be more vulnerable? All right, everyone, tune in again soon. Take care.